everyone for coming to tonight's show. This is Julia Anderson with Real Talk. For Black History Month, we are going to give little-known historical facts about, well, Black history. Sitting in our chair tonight is Dr. Brianna Jackson. Welcome to our show, Dr. Jackson.
Thank you for having me here.
Tell us a little about yourself.
I have a PhD in African Studies with an emphasis on world history.
And who are you going to talk about today?
I'm going to present to you Bayard Rustin.
Please continue.
Bayard was born on March 17, 1912 and died on August 24, 1987 at the age of 75. He was an advisor to and the right-hand man of Martin Luther King Jr. Raised by his grandparents, who were members of the NAACP, people like W.E.B. Du Bois and James Weldon Johnson were often seen in his home. It was these early influences that motivated Rustin to become a social activist.
That had to have made a huge impact on him.
It did. George Hauser, James Farmer Jr., and Bernice Fisher were the founding members of CORE, the Congress of Racial Equality. Rustin was said to be a mentor or uncle of the founding members of this organization. As a pacifist, he refused to serve in the military, and spent 2 years in prison. While in prison, he fought against segregated dining halls.
That took courage, because even now people don't care about prisoners. I can imagine back then it was even worse.
After being released from prison, Bayard traveled to India to learn the nonviolent tactics of the Gandhian movement. It was these tactics that Bayard explained to Martin Luther King before the Montgomery bus boycott marches.
Wow, I didn't know that.
As an openly gay male, Bayard often worried about his sexual orientation being used against him, or to discredit him. It was his sexual orientation that caused him to resign from SCLC, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, when threats from board members to openly expose his orientation to the public were used against him.
Unbelievable. Even back then, Black Christians were worried about who someone else was sleeping with.
Rustin was also the leader in organizing the March on Washington in 1963. People in charge of the march wanted to downplay his role in planning the march. But that was foiled when Life magazine put him and A. Philip Randolph on the cover of their magazine as the leaders of the march.
Interesting.
After the civil rights era ended, Bayard turned his sights on the civil rights of lesbians and gays. He spent the rest of his life fighting for the rights of lesbians and gays because he felt this group was easily mistreated.
Wow, that is impressive. I certainly had no idea Bayard Rustin had that big of an influence on some of the biggest groups and events in the Black civil rights movement.
It is a widely kept open secret.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson, for this informative piece of Black history. I'm Julia and this is Real Talk. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.